Sorry, I didn't know you guys were out there. My fault. I was just kind of practicing a little bit, having some fun. And that's what it's all about, right? Having fun. I was just jamming some blues, and that's what we're going to do today with lesson 14. Okay, so let's sit down and get comfortable and talk about our lesson today. All right, so our last lesson brought out the concepts of blues and the origins of blues and how they came about. And I want to tie that together with today's lesson. So I gave you homework after I talked about the progressions and the chord voicings and things like that. And the homework was basically to work on patterns, basically this pattern right here, pattern 3, and also this pattern right here in minor pentatonic. The squared notes represent the roots of minor pentatonic. Okay, so you were using this pattern and this pattern together over our C blues progression. Okay, and you've been working on that, and you've been integrating the bends that I talked to you about a couple of lessons ago, and I'm sure you're finding places to put those. But we're going to talk about that more in today's lesson and really give you some extra stuff to work on for the pentatonics, and primarily with some techniques about how to play them, okay? Because we've got all the notes now, but what we have to do with the simpler 5-note scale is dress up the notes with techniques that make the notes sound interesting. Okay, so check out the bends that we've got here. We've already got this one in pattern 4 again. We can bend the 4th, and we can also bend the minor 3rd. Right? And those are great bends. You can bend them together. Okay. You can also bend double like this. Okay. There's all kinds of things you can do here, but what I really like to do is integrate this position with this position down here. And that's because I can slide between the patterns, and I can bend from notes in here that I can't get into this position. So for example, this minor 3rd of the scale is hard, a little harder to do with your first finger. But you can do it, but I really like the way you can bend it really nicely right here, this note right here. You can bend it really nicely with your 4th finger. Right? Right? It's a little harder to get that in this position with your 1st finger, so I like to bend that note a lot down in here. Okay, now here's another great note to bend from, the G, that normally we wouldn't bend at all because to get it into the next diatonic note would be really hard in this position. But with our 4th finger here, with the added strength of our other fingers, it's easier to bend up to this note. Right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to go to the G up to the B flat. So that's a pretty expressive bend. It's a minor 3rd. It's a little bit more emotive with that larger interval. So those are some new bends that we're going to have access to in this position. Okay, so another thing that we can do that'll really dress up this pattern is the idea of sliding between notes. I want you to see what I do here. Right? Now what did I do that made that kind of cool? It's really, that's all cool and everything, but what I really liked about the patterns, the way they combine together, is this thing. The sliding. Right? called sliding between notes, and that really adds another level of expression with your scales. When you combine that with the bends, right? Right, you see how much more you get, and I'm still playing the same 5-note scale. Check it out, I even bent that note, the root of the scale, up to the minor third right here. So 2 big bends here in this pattern, in pattern 3. I can bend this note up to the minor third, and I can bend this note up to the flat 7. Okay? So now listen to the way that's going to sound now over our blues progression. I'm going to go back to C again here and let you listen to it again. Okay? And while you're at home and you're listening to me play using these notes, I want you to check out the voicings that I showed you last week. I've written them on the board so you can see them. And just play those at home along with me. Right, you've got the roots are the circled notes, so you want to play that for the C7. You can also play C7 here with your root on the 5th string, and you can also play this voicing with your root on the 5th string as well for an F7 or a C7 or a G7 or an C7 down here. Okay, so play along while I'm demonstrating the positions of the patterns of the pentatonic scales. Okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna make it musical, and then you're gonna have a chance to play along with me. So stay on your toes there. I'm gonna slow it down a little bit here so we can have a little more. Here's the next bend. Here's the next one. Okay, I'm going to do the next pattern down. Here's that large one I was telling you about. There was a sliding, right? Check it out. Okay? So, I'm pretty much stuck with those 2 patterns. Okay? A couple of times I added a couple of notes to just sort of dress it up a little bit. I was really trying not to play anything outside of those 2 patterns, though, to make the demonstration. Okay? So, there's a lot more that you'll be able to integrate inside of the blues than just pentatonic. Okay? I'm here to tell you that right now, but right now there's nothing wrong with playing these 2 patterns and really getting the most out of what you're trying to focus on, which is good intonation on your bends and melodic phrasing between the chords. You'll probably notice a lot of what I'm doing is kind of like I'm making a statement, I'm playing something, and then I'm repeating it again for effect, okay? I'm not doing that just because I don't have anything else to say. I'm doing that because it's very typical of blues phrasing to make a statement and answer your own statement. It tends to tie your 12 bar progression together better. I like the way that works, and that's very stylistically typical of blues. So listen to me do it again. Now, I'm going to put you on the toes a little bit here. I'm going to tell you to play in the key of A over this other progression. Still a blues, okay? But now, modulate it down to A. Let's listen to the progression for a second. 3, 4. What happened there? That's another chord. That's called a quick change. In other words, in the key of A, it went to the D chord on the second bar. It's just another 12 bar blues though. Okay, so listen to my call and response. Okay, so you can hear what I was doing there, and I tried to make it real obvious. I really tried to play something simple and repeat it and develop it over 12 bars. Okay, that's important because it doesn't sound like the style of blues if you just play a different lick every 5 seconds, right? It really is about developing phrasing, and that's what I'm trying to show you. Every style of music has its unique characteristics that give it its own style character, and blues is definitely about phrasing, call and response. Okay, so I want you to practice that at home and make sure that when you're practicing, you're trying to space out your phrasing so it makes musical sense. Okay, so I was in the key of A though, and I was explaining something that was important to understand. There's a quick change blues and there's slow change blues, and we've only been dealing with the quick change blues up till